everybody and welcome to Fab Tax. I'm Rosemary, and in today's video I have part 2 of my summer beach decor series, this time in neutral tones with some boho flair. I'm excited to show you what I have, so let's go ahead and jump right in. First, I'm going to make a Macrame Ish Fish, and so to do that I'm going to use one of these brightly colored fish from the Dollar Tree as well as a Dollar Tree mop head. Now I've already removed the pole from the mop, and then for the fish I just want the skeleton part, so I'm going to remove all of this colorful garland, and you can just do that by just kind of pulling it off. It comes right off. It just has just held on by those little nubs along the skeleton. And then I'm going to go and take the top plastic part off of the mop head, and now I stopped it here because I want to show you that I want to use the top of that in the next DIY. So I'm going to put that aside, but I'm going to be using that shortly for the next DIY. And now what I'm going to do here is just start by adding some hot glue to the fish skeleton. You can start in any location, it doesn't really matter. And then I'm going to just start wrapping the mop threads around the skeleton frame. And so I got so far and I realized those little nubby parts that hold the garland on really aren't going to work out too well, so I went back and I removed all those, just took them off with a wire cutter. They also come off with a scissor, so either or. But just get those all off because they kind of do stick out and don't really help with the wrapping process. But I started it with some glue, and then I'm going to wrap a little bit, and then I just add some glue, and then I wrap a little, just trying to hold it in place. But it doesn't really matter which way you go on the skeleton. You can kind of just keep going until you get to the end of the strand. And then I just add some glue to the end of the strand and then start the next strand in that same kind of splotch of glue. And then just continue to wrap the strand around. And then just keep going, adding a little glue as you go. And like I said, just keep going in whichever directions you want to go. Once you get into these little spots, I wanted to show you here though that you do want to go around all of the skeleton. So even in these little tight spots, you want to get both sides of that separately. So kind of go on the bottom where the body of the fish is, and then up again where the fin is separately, because you want to have that definition there on the fish. And then again, just where it stops, just add the new strand and continue to go all the way through until you've wrapped the entire skeleton. Now, afterward, I did go back and there were little fuzzies and little strands that I did cut off and clean up. But pretty much after you've wrapped the fish, that's the project. That's all there is to it. And this is the kind of project that would look great if you did 2 or 3 and just put them up as a nice wall hanging, like a little school of fish. And then here is a look of our Macrame Ish Fish hanging on the wall. Okay, for the next DIY, I'm going to use 2 of the shadow boxes. These have a light colored edge on it. And then also 4 of these little craft cubes from the Dollar Tree, some Dollar Tree dowels, some Dollar Tree push pins, and then also a can of dog food. And then there is the little top to our mop that is saved from the previous project. Now I do have to clip the little prongs that stick out from the bottom because I do want this mop head to lay flat on the can. So I did have to clip those out. And then I'm just going to remove the backs to the little shadow boxes. I'm going to leave the little inserts in place because I do want the candle eventually to sit on that little raised platform. And then I'm going to just glue on the little cubes to create feet for the bottom of the lantern. Now the top is going to be without any little feet because it'll be the top, and I'm going to just paint both the top and the bottom on the insides with a flat coating of the white paint, and then I'm going to do a dry brush to the sides and what will now be the top of the lantern on the exterior parts of the top of the lantern. So dry brushing on the top and sides, and then on the inside a nice white coat to cover the jungle print that was on this particular frame or shadow box. And then now the same thing with the base of the lantern. I'm going to just paint the bottom with a nice coat of white paint to cover that jungle print and then do some dry brushing along the sides as well as the little feet of the base of the lamp. In order to paint the push pins, I just put them in a spare piece of floral foam that I had on hand, and then I'm going to paint them with this copper spray paint. But I also could have done it with the brush paint. It's just the spray paint would be easier and quicker, so I just went ahead with that. But the other would work as well. And then I just took the base, and I was trying to do it by inches, but it just wasn't lining up too well. The centimeter side was easier to get. I wanted to make 3 marks on it, 3 equidistant marks on the base. So I went in at the halfway mark at 7 centimeters, and then also at 3.5 centimeters, and then 10.5 centimeters. So it's 3.5, 7, and 10.5. And then I'm going to just apply my push pins right in the middle of the side there, but at that 3.5, 7, and 10.5 point. So I'm just kind of placing them in there with my fingers, but it is a really hard surface on the side of this little shadow box, so I did have to go back. Actually, I didn't even, and when I was too lazy, I didn't want to go get my hammer, so I'm like, I'll just use the side of this pliers and just use that to bang them in. So it worked just fine, and I'm just going to do that all the way around, again, all in those 3 same spots. Then I'm going to just take my painted can, so now I've painted the can and the top of the mop head with some white chalk paint, and then I'm just using some E6000 glue to attach the can first and then the mop head on top of the can to create a little lantern topper. And then I'm going to just let that glue set up, but once the glue is dry, I'm going to go ahead and add the thumbtacks, the little push pin tacks, again to the side of the top of the lantern. And so again, coming in at those same marks, 7 centimeters, 3.5 centimeters, and 10.5 centimeters. And then I will apply the push pins at those marks just the same way, kind of pushing them in at first and then banging them in with the side of my pliers. And I will again do that on all 4 sides. And then for the risers on the lantern, I wanted to use some dowels, and I wanted to wrap those in some cord. And I was going to originally just use the twine from the Dollar Tree, and I really didn't like the way those came out so well. So I happened to have purchased this huge, look at how ginormous this roll is, from Joann's. And I actually even thought it was in the wrong location because it was only $5.88, the normal price for this huge roll. And here it does turn out that was the price, and with the coupon it only came out to like $3.45, so it was absolutely major bargain. And all I'm doing with the jute cord is I just glued the bottom and then began winding the jute cord around the dowel, and then just added a little more glue to the dowel itself and continue to wrap the jute all the way up the side of the dowel. This just gives it a little bit of some texture and a nice nautical look. And after I've wrapped all 4 dowels, I'm just going to take some E6000 glue and put it there on the inside corner of the base. I'll put a dab to the top, a dab to the bottom, and then a little dab of hot glue in between those 2. And then I'll just take my dowel and I'll hold it in place until the hot glue sets. And then the hot glue will keep it in place so that the E6000 can set. And then I'll repeat that for all 4 of the dowels. Next, I wanted to add a little more character to the lid of the lantern. And so I'm going to just take some more of that Joann's jute cord, and I'm just going to add a little hot glue to the one side. And I'm going to just begin to wrap the can portion of the lid with the jute cord. And I started off with some hot glue, but if you follow my channel, you know hot glue and I are not friends at all. So as wherever I can, we can use this Titebond glue. I found this stuff. I think it's really good because it's a multi-purpose craft glue, and I will provide a link to that in the description box below as well. But it's a pretty great glue. I use it a couple times. It wasn't so hot. I've noted where it's not been effective, but for the most part I find it to be a pretty great glue, and it doesn't burn my fingers. That's the greatest part about it. So I'm going to just wrap it all the way around to the top and into that little crevice where it meets the top of that mop head, and just add some more of my new favorite glue and create a nice little nautical top to my lantern. And then for this lantern, I am going to glue the top on. I usually don't do this, but in this case, you'll see why in a few minutes. I just added some of that Titebond glue to the top and just placed the lid right on and let the glue set. And you can see why here, because I intend to add some nautical cord to the top and bottom anyway. So that's going to hold it in place anyway. And this just makes it easier to do. And so to do that, all that I'm doing is taking a piece of cord. I'm kind of measuring out how long it's going to be, adding some of the glue to both ends, create a nice, kind of stiff end there on the edge. And then I'm going to just loop it around and create a knot, just a regular knot, and then pull that tight around my little peg there at the top, and then do the same process at the bottom. Just make a little knot and then put that knot around the little tack and pull it through. And then I'm going to repeat that process for all of the tacks all the way around the lantern. Now, in order to get rid of a lot of those little fuzzies, as well as give some rigidity to the string, I am going to coat it with some of the glue. Just put it on and then just rub it around with my fingers. Yes, it is very messy, but it does give a great look. And then once everything is in place, I can just go back and cut the little edges off of the strings. And then here's what it looks like once all of the jute cord has been applied all the way around. Now for the candle insert, I decided to go ahead and do some sand and a candle. And this little item might look familiar to you from Christmas. It occurred to me, I was going through my things, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that looks just like some coral. So I just kind of stuck it in there, cut it off a little bit in order for it to have a little bit of a better fit to the vase, but it worked out just fine. Now to get candles in and out of this, all you need to do is remove one centerpiece of the little tack, and they just kind of, pull in and out because they're tacks, and you have access to the inside of the lantern. And then here's the finished project. I just added a little seashell to the top to give it that extra beach vibe. And I don't know, I'm thinking that it would probably look better with just a plain candle. I think it's a little too busy to have all that seashell stuff going on inside the vase, but I don't know. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Should it just be just a plain candle here? I'm thinking so, but let me know what you think. The next DIY is fun and easy, and it uses these wood dowels from the Dollar Tree, a couple of these little wood crates, as well as a couple of these cute little fishies in two different designs there from the Dollar Tree, as well as the floral foam, also from the Dollar Tree. And so all I did with these was that I took the fish and one of the dowels, and then I added some of that wood glue, well, that multi-purpose glue, which is also good for wood, and then also the hot glue. So I'm using the hot glue again just to hold it in place while the better glue for this, which is the wood glue, sets up. And so it just, prevents me from having to stand there and hold it or put it in a way that I could, that the wood pieces would stay together with clamps or something like that. Next, I'm going to give the fish a weathered, bleached wood look. And I'm going to do that by just taking some white chalk paint on a dry brush and just lightly brushing that over the natural color of the wood. And this way, I'm just going to let the natural wood kind of shine through, just do the little streaks of the dry brush chalk paint on top. And then again, that just gives that nice weathered, bleached out beach look. And then I'm going to take the little wood crates and I'm going to do the same dry brush process with the white chalk paint. And I'll do that for both of the boxes. And then once the paint is dry, I'll just go ahead and take some of that Titebond glue, or you could use wood glue here. I'm going to just add some of that to the side of the one box, and then also some hot glue. Again, this is to just get that immediate hold, and I'll put those two boxes together. And then that hot glue will keep it in place while the other glue sets up. And then I'm going to just take some of the floral foam that I've cut down to size and just place it in my boxes, and then add some Spanish moss to the top of the foam to cover the foam. And then once that was done, I just added my fish, but before I put the fish in, I took the small ones and I just cut about 2 inches off of the dowel for the smaller fish. Then I added the larger fish first, and what I wanted to do is just line it up there in the middle of each of the boxes and kind of towards the back. And then I took the one smaller fish and I put it right there in the middle. and then one on each side of that. And then I decided to add a little more decoration by adding some of the Dollar Tree nautical rope. And I just took 3 strips of that, and I'm going to just hot glue that to the wood crate. So I'm going to just take some hot glue and put it right there in the middle of that first section of the wood crate. Then just kind of wrap it around, and again add some hot glue to the front, right there again in the middle. And then just attach that cord right to the hot glue and wrap it around to the back. And then I'm going to do that for each one of those sections on the box so that I end up with 3 of the ropes. And then here's the finished project, a great little school of fish sculpture in a wonderful weathered wood finish. For the last DIY, I'm going to make a fun little palapa style mirror using a Dollar Tree mirror, wreath, and hula hoop skirt. This is the adult one, and also a couple of paint sticks. First, I'm going to just tape off the mirror with some masking tape because I am going to be painting it. And then I'm going to add one of the, now these are the smaller paint sticks, paint stirrer sticks. I'm going to add one vertically. I'm going to add it with first some of that multi-purpose glue, and then add some hot glue to hold it in place, and then do the same horizontally with another paint stick, and then again just adding some glue there to the bottom of the ring as well as the top of the paint stick, and then reinforcing with some hot glue. Next, I'm going to take some of that Titebond glue and again just put some strips there on that horizontal paint stick, and also add some hot glue as well. And then just center my mirror right on top. Then I took the entire combination and painted it with some of this satin almond spray paint, or alternately I could have used some of this cashew paint from Waverly. Next, I took the hula skirt and I added some glue to the top, and then just pressed the 2 sides together because I wanted to seal off the top of the skirt. And then once the 2 sides are glued together, it should look like that. And then what I wanted to do was just cut the skirt in half lengthwise. So I laid it out flat and then just kind of folded it in half to find where that midpoint would be, and then just cut the skirt there. Now, since the skirt does end up being a little bit short of what I need it to be up at the top, I did have to go back with some of those cut pieces and add to the length there, kind of widthwise, of the skirt. So what I'm doing is just adding, tying on some of the strands to that end of the rope. And then once my paint was dry, I just went back and removed the masking tape from the mirror, and then added some of the Titebond glue there along the inside perimeter of the mirror. And now I just went back with the hula hoop skirt and attached it to the inside rim of the mirror. And then there you can see where that little extra bit was needed in order to get all the way around the inside rim. Once the glue was set, I flipped the skirt back up so that I could add some more glue to the wreath form underneath. And then I took the cuttings from when I had cut the skirt in half and attached those to the glue on the wreath form. This serves to fill in the spaces and make the mirror surround nice and full. Once I had those attached, I went back with some more glue on top of the cuttings, and then just flipped the top of the skirt back in place, attaching it to the glue to hold it down. And then I just continued on to the next section, filling in again underneath, and then flipping it back over and attaching it in place. And then once all the sections were complete, I just went back and cut off the excess. And what I did was I took about 1.5 inches from that bottom rung of the wreath form and just cut from there all the way around the wreath. And then here's the finished project, a great decorative mirror for any beach or boho decor. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this second video in the Beach Decor series. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to give a thumbs up, and please share with any family and friends you think would also enjoy this video. If you have a favorite or plan on making any of these, please let me know in the comments below. And if you're not already a subscriber and you like what you see, please consider subscribing. We'd love to have you join the family. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on FabTax, where we're putting the extra and ordinary one DIY at a time.